Okay, good morning. Welcome to our MAT161, Calculus 1 with Analytic Geometry. This is a course offered at LD Woosley Bethany College for Bachelor in Secondary Education major in Mathematics. Welcome everyone. Thank you for dropping by on our live stream. We have a simultaneous broadcast on our platform, different platform, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter accounts. So we thank the Lord for this. While I'm still waiting for my student, where is my student? Okay, let's wait for my student. I don't know where she is right now, but he has the link, so he might be right now here. Okay, so let's wait. I'll be discussing today applications, more on applications. Okay, yan lang po. I-ano muna natin ang tabbing. So, nasa na ba ang aking estudyante? Okay, so on the right side is my Octave. This is Octave on octave-online.net. So from time to time, I'll be having a supplementary lecture utilizing this, no, on my on the YouTube channel, no, so that this could help also students in solving, verifying, no. It's an online calculator actually, no. It could solve anything from arithmetic, algebra, trigonometry, calculus, and higher mathematics. Okay, so yan, di ko alam nasa na kaya si Micaela. Acknowledging one top chat on our Facebook. Welcome to my calculus class, MAT161. I'm still waiting for my student to pop up. So basically, supplemental na lang yung mamaya, no? So perhaps we could review your derivative of transcendental functions. Now then we will have some maxima minima until tomorrow. Next week will be our introduction to differential calculus. Okay, so acknowledging two top chat, acknowledging Enris is watching. Welcome Enris. Welcome to my calculus class on our Facebook. So this is a calculus class. So kayang-kaya mo yan. Here at Bethany, we're discussing here derivative of functions. So far, we have gone through the basic algebraic functions. Now we'll be proceeding with some of the commands that we could incorporate here. For instance, derivative of exponential function, such that derivative of a raised to u. Though we don't have much time in deriving this, there are occasions where you may derive. So the answer is derivative of au is equal to au ln a. Then du over dx. Oh, welcome, Micaela. How are you? Morning. So I've seen your notes already, no? So meron ka lang dapat may kulang ka lang doon sa exponential function, yung limit ng e raised to a delta x all over delta x, may limit 'yon. May limit siya. Yun dapat yung sinerch mo. Kaya kulang yung solution mo doon sa dulo. So for trigonometric functions, no problem. It's derivable based in sine and cosine function. But for the e raised to x, so dapat alamin mo kung ano yung limit ng e raised to delta x over delta x as delta x approaches 0. So magkakaroon ka dyan ng assumption that obviously this will yun, basta magkakaroon ka ng derivation doon. And then that would help you in solving for e raised to x, the derivative of e raised to x. Okay, so far I'm also having my octave here. So we could diff of, say, a is could any constant such as, say, for instance, 2 raised to x. Diff of 2 raised to x, undefined siya. Bakit? Kailangan ko siguro isim ulit, sims x, y, and z. So we have here the derivative of 2 raised to x, as specified on the illustration. We have here 2 raised to x log of 2. So ibig sabihin nun, yung log dyan is actually ln. Kasi ang sa MATLAB or sa Octave, ang log ay log 10. Okay, so nagkakaiba lang ng variation. So but this is still the answer. And of course, if you have your du over dx, for instance, you still need to solve that. Du over dx. So unfortunately, your du, you don't have a function of u for au. So for instance, since derivative of x is 1, so wala na. For instance, what if you have a diff of 2 raised to, say, x squared plus 1. So that would be your exponent. So 2 raised to x squared plus 1. So magkakaroon ka dyan ng du over dx mo. The du over dx component now is 2x. So makikita mo dito yung 2x. So rini-arrange lang ng Octave. But that is your du. So most of the students have problem in du over dx. Okay, acknowledging. Oh, Ate Susan is with us. Welcome to my calculus class, Ate Susan. Welcome po. Good morning po, Madam Susan. One of our high school librarian when I was still in the PUP Laboratory High School. Salamat, Madam. Thank you for dropping by. Now, this will be all simplified if A would be, so A could be any constant, no? A is any constant. Okay? And number 2, so for instance, what if A is equal to E or the natural number? So we have here derivative of x of e raised to u is equal to, so what do you think, Micaela? Following the pattern, a is equal to u. If a is equal to e, what is the derivative of eu, the one that you're solving?
You think it's the right version, proper version? Where you're allowed
Sir.
Come again? May feedback ka? Sa akin ba galing?
No po.
Ako ba'y
EU,
nagpipidback?
sir.
EU, kulang. EU,
EU du over dx.
ayan. EU over dx.
Sir, so dapat po nauna kong isolve yung yung AU po. Para ma-derive ko po
Mas
yung
generic
EU.
siya. Pero based dun sa assumption mo, umano ka dun sa limit eh. Mamaya, i-discuss natin yan. Tingnan natin kung pwede naman yung EU agad, no problem. No problem yan. Kasi specific lang yung case ng EU. Specific lang siya.
Sir,
So,
question.
yes.
Kasi po yung dun po sa hyperbolic, tama po ba sir yung ginawa ko po?
Okay, what is your assumption there? Dapat hindi ko na nakita ko yung exponential sa trigonometric eh. Medyo baka hindi ko na browse yung
Yung sa hyperbolic cosine po kasi, yung hyperbolic, yung cos po, pi over 2. Tsaka yung sine h. Ano ba ito? Hyperbolic sine po ng pi over 2. Hindi po siya yung 0 and 1 po, diba? Pag kinumpute po sa calculator.
Okay, medyo malabo lang sa screen ko pero teka. Sige.
Sa cosine po.
May limit din kasi to eh. So pero na-derive mo yung hyperbolic sine, no?
Opo, gamit po yung delta.
Sige, I'll be proposing an alternative here para makita mo rin. So, sige, tuloy natin yan. Anyway, nandito na tayo sa exponential function. So, here, diff, ang octave or MATLAB, EXP. Pwede rin yung E raised to, no? Pero EXP siya at ang exponent niya, X. E raised to X, EXP raised to X. That's how you rewrite that in MATLAB or octave. So, E raised to X siya. Ayan. Pero pag linamanan mo yan, if say exponent of 3x cubed plus 4x. So may du over dx component dyan, which is obviously 9x squared plus 4. So yung 9x squared plus 4 na yan, multiplied by EU. No? Yan. So, naghang siya dahil wala akong parenthesis. Grabe naman po si MATLAB. Syntax error pa siya. Tama naman kanina. If. So, hindi na naman niya na-define yung 3x cubed plus 4x. Ayun. Yun lang, komplikado yung kanyang sagot Simplify. Simplify ans. Ayan, di niya simplify EU-DU lang yun eh. So magkakaroon ka ng 9x squared plus 4. Tama, kasi pinactor niya lang, no? Tama, Micaela, pinactor niya yung x. Nakikita mo sa yung octave, paano niya sinagot yung problem. Yung derivative of e raised to, ito yung tanong ko kanina, derivative of e raised to 3x cubed plus 4x. So ang ginawa ni MATLAB, of course, binaba yung 9, naging 9x squared plus 4, check. Tapos yung exponent ay pinactor out niya. Okay? Okay ba? Parang may problema yung audio mo ah.
Ano, sir? Kasabay ko lang. Hindi po, kasabay ko lang si ate po.
Meron ding online. May online din siya.
Opo.
Okay. Kaya nagcha-choppy, no? Acknowledging Ma'am Shi Rosel on our Facebook. Salamat, Ma'am Shi. Okay, so sige, I'll try to derive that, no, yung e raised to x. So based on the definition, so we have here a limit of delta x approaches to 0, no? Ganun. And so we have here e raised to x. E raised to x plus delta x, tama, no? Plus delta x, right? So minus e raised to
Sir.
all over. So this will be all over lalagay ko na dito. All over delta x. Yun, pasok. Masok siya. No? Pwede naman pumasok to, no problem. Yan. Pwedeng pumasok yan. So furthermore, so ano yung magiging procedure natin dito, Micaela? Next one. So magiging e raised to x. E raised to x. E raised to delta x. Okay? Minus minus e raised to x all over delta x. So assuming the limit, no, hindi ko na linagay yung limit. So next to that, of course, we may have some factor out. You factor out e raised to x. So this will become e raised to delta x.
Minus 1 po.
Yan, minus 1. Yan ngayon ang dapat mo makuha, yung limit nito. Obviously, the limit of e raised to x minus 1 over delta x is equal to 1. Mapuprove mo yan in some other case. You could prove that, but we don't have much time in showing that. This just to show that this one would lead to its equivalent equal to 1. So magiging e raised to x na lang talaga siya. So itong limit na to, Pero ano, syempre, ano yun, kailangan i-prove mo muna yun. No, i-prove mo muna yun. So yun yung siguro yung missing link doon sa proving. Nevertheless, yung namang general equation, ganun din lalabas. May loan nga lang siyang component. There's a loan component on ang magiging limit niya, may loan component siya. Loan of A. Lalabas doon yung loan of A. Okay, pero mas madali kasi ito kasi special case yung e raised to x. So outrightly, na makapag-drawing. So outright. Okay, so this would be so obviously this would be equal to 1. Equal to 1 to. And this will be proven separately. Yun yung makikita natin. Equal kay 1. Kaya yung mapapatunayan yung derivative natin, EU du over dx. Okay? Doon naman sa hyperbolic, meron ka lang identity, Micaela, na susundan. Meron ka lang identity. No, mas madali to. Ang dalawa yung identity palagi mong titingnan sa hyperbolic. So perhaps I would also hyperbolic sine of x is equal to, and this is a general theory, no? E raised to x minus e raised to negative x over 2. That's hyperbolic sine. Kaya mas madali mong ma-substitution na mangyari dito. And then same as true with your cosine, hyperbolic cosine. Okay? Hyperbolic cosine of x would be equal to e raised to x plus. Ito naman plus siya. E raised to negative x all over 2. Okay? So that's for your hyperbolic cosine. Okay? So from there, you could have derived, we could already have derived. Now, kasi na-derive na natin yung EU, alam mo na, pwede mo na siyang i-substitute na lang. That's possible. Or, pwede mo siyang i-expand in terms of EU using delta process, and then you will arrive at this constant. You just equate it to 1. So ganun yung approach. Tingin ko it will be much easier if that would be the equivalency. That would be the equivalent of utilizing that, no, yung this constant. Okay, make sense, Micaela?
Apa.
Okay, kasi kapag kinuha mo yung derivative nito, ito, kunin mo derivative nito, e raised to x, derivative niya, e raised to x pa rin. Minus, magiging plus yan. So ano na siya ngayon? Ex plus e raised to negative x, cosine x na. Therefore, derivative of hyperbolic sine is hyperbolic cosine. Okay? So yun. So mas madali siya. So kung diff of hyperbolic cosine x, nawala na naman siya ng kasi walang parenthesis. Tama ba? At hindi niya maintindihan kasi magkabaliktad yung ko. Pinag ko. Yan, cosine, di ba? Ngayon, kung ilalagay ko sa ganyan, no? So diff, say, dinifine ko na in-expand ko siya, exp x minus exp negative x. Then, Yan lang. So, may lalabas na factor of 2 dyan. No? Hindi ko na i-divide by 2. Supposedly. Ayan. So, wala yung over 2. No? Wala yung over 2 dyan. So, pero pag may over 2 dyan, lalabas na yan ay hyperbolic. Answer, sige. Answer divided by 2. Simplify. Simplify answer. Ayan, cosine, di ba? Lumabas. Nung sinimplify mo yung e raised to x plus e raised to negative x over 2, na-recognize ni MATLAB na hyperbolic cosine siya. So, ayan, magagamit mo itong dalawang ito. So, another memory aid for you. I would suggest you don't forget these two. Of course, you could solve for the tangent. Tangent is just dividing both. No? For that case, so magka-cancel yung 2 dyan. Kung hyperbolic tangent naman, if I will be, you'll be solving for the hyperbolic tangent, obviously it's just the division of sine, hyperbolic sine, divided by hyperbolic cosine. Ayaw niyan naman. Ayan, so anyway, so if that would be the case, ayaw niya lang your tangent now, your tangent x now is obviously equal to e raised to x minus e raised to negative x divided by e raised to x minus e raised to negative x. Okay, so that is the hyperbolic tangent. Okay, ito pala plus. Babaguhin ko na lang. Gagawin ko siyang plus. So, yan. O yan, Micaela. So, these are new memory aid formulas for you. Ngayon, pag sinolve mo yung diff of hyperbolic tangent, saka lalabas. Grabe si Octave, oh. Wala na naman. Syntax error na naman. Hindi niya ma-distinguish yung ano. Okay, sims uli natin. Sims x and y and then diff of hyperbolic tangent of x. Ayan. So, ang sagot niya ay 1 minus hyperbolic tangent x. No? So, kailangan pang simplify ito. Simplify answer. Ayan. So, ang lalabas dyan ay yung anong reciprocal ng cosine, ano? Micaela?
Secant.
Secant. So, it becomes hyperbolic secant of x. Ganun yun. Tama ba? Am I right? Kasi dito, 1 over hyperbolic cosine squared. Hyperbolic squared. Hyperbolic secant squared of x. Okay? So, medyo komplikado lang yung tangent, pero it's still derivable. Okay, question? Okay, so far, so exponential na tayo, okay, logarithm. So medyo, sa logarithm naman, yung special, no, ilalagay ko lang sa octave. If instead of ln, ln, log of x. Alam natin yung sagot dyan. What is derivative of ln of x? Micaela? Ln of x? What's the derivative of ln of x? Here. derivative of ln of x. That's the answer. Pareho lang yung octave. Pero sa octave, log of x ang banggit. Pareho lang siya. Ayan. Ano nga ba? So by this time, you already have sort of memorizing the table. At least, no? So that is 1 over x. Okay, 1 over x. Huwag mo kakalimutan yan. Napakahalagang nito, derivation. Kasi yung log, mababase mo ngayon, saka kayo mag-backtrack sa log. Yung log, medyo komplikado. So log of e to the base a du over dx. Kasi ito may du over dx component pa to. Du over dx. So 1 over x, no? So ito ay special type ng log 10. Pag naman linagay mo sa octave, log of x. Yan talaga yung base 10 na log. So medyo may lang siya. Yan yung kakalabasan. 1 over x log of 10. So yun yung makikita natin diyan. So iba yung formula doon sa ating pero pwede na to, doable na tong, kasi to ln to ln of 10 to talaga parang 1 over x ln of 10. Okay, sinimplify niya na ln of 10. Yun yung makikita natin diyan. Okay, so anyway, so of course sa Micaela, yung huwag mo kakalimutan sine, cosine, and then you could always derive. Although magandang makabisado mo yung 6 trigonometric function, pero huwag mo kakalimutan yung sine, cosine. And from sine, cosine, I have a call. Saglit lang, Micaela, for a while.
Yes, po.
Okay, balik tayo. By the way, Micaela, as I announced, you will have your final exam by December, December? May schedule na tayo, no? Tama ba? Naibigay ko na sa'yo.
Wala pa po.
Wala pa ba? Sa algebra ko pa lang yata. Kasi tinatakot ko yung mga algebra students ko. December, ano tayo? December 10. Ngayon, 15, week 15, 17, 18, 15, 16, 17, 18 will fall on December 18. December 10 pala, sorry. December 10, that will final exam. Multiple choice to. Then week 17 puro review tayo. Week 16 that will be next week. Yan yung final lecture ko sa that would involve anti-derivative already. Then later on, maya-maya I will be discussing already maxima, minima, and time rates. So yun yung application na kasi yan eh. And then siguro hanggang next week yung lecture, and then review tayo all throughout. Mag-review tayo all throughout. I'll be giving you also the final reviewer. And then 18, you need still to report online, though I'll be giving the forms through private chat. So pwede ka nang doon. Ay pwede nang continue, and then na lang, siguro we will end na lang the session as soon as you're done with the multiple choice. So I'll be giving 50 items, multiple choice problems that would represent all of the topics for calculus with analytic geometry. So yun yung coverage natin. So it's more of a comprehensive test. Ang challenge ko nga sa algebra ko, minimum grade pag na-perfect yung final exam, 125. Pero ito ang challenge ko sa'yo. Pag na-perfect yung final exam, flat 1 ka. Pag na-perfect mo, multiple choice yan. Pag na-perfect mo, flat 1, wala na akong kukumputin. Flat 1 na agad ng bibigay kong grade sa'yo. So, ganun yung challenge ko sa'yo. Kung mape-perfect mo ang final exam. Kung lang naman. Okay, kung ma-perfect, flat 1. Pag hindi, less than flat 1, syempre. Okay?
Yes ba, sir?
Ayan, naririnig yung mga YouTuber. So, ayan. So, I'll be giving my student flat 1 if she will perfect the final test. Ayan. Multiple choice naman eh. Kaya pwede mong pagbulay-bulayin ng 1.5 hours yung 50 items. Okay, so 50. Lilimit ko lang siya sa 50 items. Para so ang range niya more on siguro ang 40 items diyan more on problem solving. May 10 may konting theory ganun, konting theory. Mga less than 10 items, and the rest are multiple problem solving. But I'll still be giving reviewer for you on week 17. Okay? So aralin yung kung ano man ibibigay ko by week 17, it will help you a lot for the exam. And then afterwards, kalas, buto na. Okay? So mag-PPM na lang ako sa'yo. Oh, congratulations, perfect score, flat 1. Bye. So ganun lang kasimple yun. No? So wala nang usapan. Ngayon, pag wala akong message na ganun, alam mo na. Okay? So that's it. So schedule that December 10. Tama ba? Lahat ba ng courses on that week ang exam?
Opo.
Okay? So hindi naman tayo nagkamali ng kalendaryo. Alright. So par wala akong masyadong view. Pero okay lang kasi alam ko mga busy itong mga to. Sige. Wala na pala yung caption ko. Hindi ko na nailagay. Baka sabihin nila, team replay. Hindi po. Live stream po ito ng klase. Live stream ng klase. Okay. We'll continue. No? So, yung mga naman, supplementary na yung Micaela, supplementary na yung mga inverse function. Pero maganda rin na basa-basa ka rin doon. Pero I think supplementary already yung inverse function. Okay? Yung namang hyperbolic function, yun, nanggaling siya doon sa formulang binigay ko, could always derive through this. No? Yan. And through this masosolve mo yung mga halimbawa, yung hyperbolic secant. Hyperbolic secants, reciprocal ng hyperbolic cosine. So, pwede mo siyang i-derive. So, derivable siya. Alright? So far yun. Nasolve mo na naman yung test test 13, tama? Nasolve mo na to, no? Yung day 13, tama ba? Napasa mo na siya, no? Yung about derivatives and limits.
Parang di pa po, sir.
Hindi pa rin. So ano yan? Yung test 14, wala pa yata. Kasi hindi ako masyadong nasa classroom ngayon. So because of our platform, different platform for broadcast, no? So hindi na ako though lahat naman to i-upload natin on or before week 17, no, prior to your exam. Okay, sige. Punta tayo dito sa maxima minima. Ito kasing application ng calculus. No? So we need to recognize its application. Okay, so I will draw again. Hopefully this will be a good drawing. Nawala na yung connection sa ano. Ganun talaga siya, no? Pag hindi siya, no? Okay? So we have here, anong slope ng horizontal line, Micaela?
Zero.
Zero. Okay, good. So slope niyan, 0. Okay, your slope, how about, of course, 0 to, no? 0. Now, how about the vertical line? Ano slope niya? What's the slope of vertical line? Kung slope ng horizontal ay 0, anong slope ng vertical line? Anong change of x mo dito? Kasi change of y over change of x. Ano magiging change of x mo pag vertical?
Wala po.
Wala. 0. So, any value over 0, what's the answer? What's your answer?
Undefined.
Or to be more precise is, it's not really undefined, but a very large number called infinite. Okay? So, infinite slope siya pag vertical. Kasi yung change of rise over run mo, yung change in x mo, 0. So kahit ano yung change on height mo, in this case, very large number, no? Yung variation sa y mo, pero 0 naman yung change of x, infinite. No? So why do I need? Because your curve, normally your curve or your function would touch these 3 points. Okay, for instance, a sinusoidal wave would touch on these 3 points. Okay, so take note of these 3 points. The one that's on the top, that's what we call your maximum point. Is your maximum point of a function, no? And then of course, obviously, there is a minimum point here. This is your minimum point. Okay, so you have maximum point, minimum point. How about that in the middle, the one that touch the vertical line? No, so this is what we call your point of inflection, meaning it's a point that the function is neither rising nor falling. No, hindi mo ma-determine kung siya ba'y pababa o pataas. rising or falling. It's neither rising or falling. No? Kasi nga, on this case, there's a rising act here. Ay, ano ko muna tong ano. Okay, I'll change my color here. Okay. So whenever in a function, whenever there is a point wherein there's a rising, and then eventually as it approaches that particular point, the function falls. Obviously, what do you call that point? Here in this drawing, that's your maximum point. That's your maximum point. Whenever the function approaches that point wherein there is a rising and falling of a function. Makes sense, Michaela? On this illustration, there's a rising towards that point and there's a falling towards that point. No? And then another one, but however, for a minimum point, approach a minimum point, there must be falling first, falling to that particular minimum point and then rising. Baliktad naman sa minimum point. Okay? Nakita mo yung difference, Michaela? So kapag minimum siya, pag minimum, from falling to rising. Maximum, rising to falling. May mga point, lalo na kapag nagtatouch ka ng vertical line, may mga point is neither falling or rising. No, ang tawag dyan ay, in math, we call it point of inflection. This is a point of inflection. O yung inflection point. Inflection. Yan. Inflect na lang na isulat ko. Okay, inflection point yan. Na kung saan, the function on that particular point does not rise or fall at all. Pero, ano pa rin siya? Kumbaga, tinatawag siya, yung tatlong yan, that's what we call critical points. Now, these are what we call critical points of a function. So, we call it critical point. Okay, so that's what we call critical points. Critical points yan. So one is the max, maximum, minimum, and then point of inflection. So these are the 3 points that are that needs to be reflected upon. And mind you, in these 3 points of inflection, all of the slope would be equal to 0. Now, there are occasions that even this point of inflection, you could compute as slope equal to 0. Now, that's a possibility. No? But sometimes, there are points of inflection, there are points, a maximum point and minimum point without any point of inflection at all. So, may mga ganong cases. Now, this could be applied now in if of course, we could convert a function into its physical representation. Therefore, there are particular points that there is a maximum value, and then there's a particular point that has a minimum value. So, pwede natin siyang equate. I-apply ito sa isang problem. Okay, sa isang problem. Sige, let's try to apply this to a particular problem. For instance, no, ito mahalaga to, largest rectangle inscribed in a circle. So, largest. Ito, it's found already on the notes in which I will be uploading this rectangle inscribed in a circle. So, meron daw pinakamalaking rectangle na nasa loob ng isang bilog. No? So, ito yung example ng application ng maxima minima. Though, sometimes you don't need to compute it. We just need to recognize its pattern. No? Kasi sa board exam din, kung magdi-derive ka pa, it takes time. But if you know the format, no, go for it. No, go for the So, if I will just draw this and ink to shape para naman magmukhang maganda yung bilog natin. Yan, ganda, no? And then we have here another one. Hindi ko lang alam kung mag-i-ink to shape to. Uy, galing ah. First time ko makadrawing ng ano, perfect ah. Okay, so nakachamba kahit pa paano. Pero hindi yung maganda. Hindi pa siya ayun. Okay, so of course my drawing is not accurate. However, ayaw niya mag-ano, no? Okay. So assuming that this is the radius rectangle, how will you solve this? Yeah, that's the problem. How will you solve that? No? So of course, we could solve that. Ibawasan ko nga ng konti. Of course, we could define this by getting the values now of the sides of the rectangle based on the parameters of the circle. Hindi ko lang siya madraw ng tama. Of course, may relation to. Can you draw a relationship, Micaela? Agad lang para may call na naman ako. Dagdag lang. Wait for a while Micaela.
Yes, sir.
Palagay mo Micaela, ano yung pinakamalang rectangle na nandyan sa bilog? What's the largest rectangle that could be put inside this circle? assuming, of course, the given is the circle. The given is a circle. Ayan, no? So from the center, perhaps, you could draw its Pythagorean relation. Alright? So yan yung Pythagorean relation niya. O kahit wag na to. So ito yung radius, ito yung A. A over 2. Okay? So this is A, or the side over 2, say X. So this is your R. Actually, pareho siya, no? So we could always refer this say A na lang. A saka A. So yun yung magiging relation niya, no? Ay, nawala.
Yes.
Ayan. So yun yung relation niya. Now, how using your, kasi ang largest rectangle, so meaning, ang minimize or minamaximize mo dyan, yung area. Yung area ng particular, yung area nung inscribed. So based on this relation, so AA siya, no? So we could always ayan. So pero ang side natin 2A Ang side natin 2A. So from here, we could project a relation such that wala na. Okay. We could project a relation such that A, the area of the rectangle is say xy, and this is in terms of r supposedly, or in terms of a relationship, kasi yung x mo dyan a, yung a, actually dalawa pala, sadali, teka. So yung actually sa drawing makikita mo na ang rectangle na tinutukoy dyan ay square. Ikaela.
Yes po.
Tama? Square dapat. So ibig sabihin, magkasing haba. Kaya dito, nung represent ko yung A sa A doon, magkasing haba yung supposedly hindi ko muna i-represent ng A sa A to eh. Dapat B. Halimbawa, in terms of kasi yun yung largest ano niya, no? Largest rectangle that could fit in a circle is a square where we could have a maximum area, though we're deriving here an area. So parang lalabas niyan 8 times kasi ang mangyayari niyan, magkakaroon pa tayo ng ano diyan eh. Nga pala, may square root pa ng a squared or r squared minus a squared. Parang ganun yung lalabas diyan na kasi hindi inassume ko na A to eh, pero dapat B dapat. So AB siya. So AB. So yung area na yun is just 1/4, no? So later on we will reflect that to the entire circle. So then kukunin mo yung derivative with respect to A. So magiging Ayan, so yan yung, that's how the process will go on, Micaela. So in this case, we'll get the derivative of, okay. So kunin na natin yung derivation nito. Seems, siguro x na nga lang ilagay natin to make it x and y. X and y. Pero hindi mo define yung, we could just define x in terms, y in terms of x and its relation to r, which is a Pythagorean relationship. X square root of r squared minus x squared. So sige, we could always make use of our tool here, getting the derivative. Ang haba nito, yun, diff of x times square root of. So siguro i-treat niya na constant yung sana i-treat niya constant. Dapat pala ma-treat niyang constant yun. Sana nga ma-treat niyang constant. Ayun na naman tayo. Yung diff. So assuming your r is equal to 1, say r is equal to 1, square root of. Yung ganda. Simplify ans. Yan, napakaganda ng sinabi niya. Okay. So itong sagot na to, as soon as we solve this, we will equate to 0. That's how we will maximize or minimize. Kasi based doon sa illustration natin, dapat ang slope niya 0. Micaela, dapat slope niya 0 para makita mo yung minimum or maximum value. So, upon differentiation of these parameters, you will equate this to 0. Okay? You will equate. Kaya, wag kang maguluhan, wag kang maabala dun sa denominator. Okay lang yan. Kasi nga, i-equate mo naman sa 0 yung derivative eh. So, lalabas dyan, based on this, magiging 1 minus 2x squared. Ayan, no? So, yun yung magiging parameter niya, no? Assuming 1 is the radius. No, we assume here that 1 is the radius para makita natin yung no? Kasi nga, ayan. And of course, with the square root, we don't neglect the square root, no? We're actually equating it to 0. We'll dump it to the other side, so 0 na siya. Alright? And then solving for, can you solve for x? What's the x value? What's x? X is what, Micaela?
Answer sa 1 minus 2x squared.
Is equal to 0. Yes. Acknowledging Ilocanang Inday, ma'am. Welcome. Sir, welcome. Solve na tayong calculus. Sige, kindly solve please.
Squared.
So, yung ating, so ito, x natin. Ito, y. What's the answer?
Square root of 1 half.
Kulang pa. Tuloy mo.
Sure, di ba x po?
Solve for x, yes.
Square root of 1 half, sir.
Kulang nga. Tuloy mo. Simplify. Simplify. Rationalize. Rationalize pala. Rationalize. Square root of 2.
Square root of 2
Over 2. Ba't ang tagal? Hindi kailan tagal. Square root of 1 half lang. 1 over square root 1 half lang yan. Times 1 half for both numerator denominator. Square root of 2 over 2. Okay? Oh, let's solve now for y. Ang y naman, ito ang definition ng y. R squared minus x squared. Pero dinefine natin ng r equal to 1 for to ease the problem, no? So that would become 1 squared minus, of course, square root of 2 over 2 squared. So babalik lang siya sa 1 half. Tama? Tama ba? Square root of 2 over 2 is 2 over 4 or 1 half when you square it. So 1, so that would become 1 minus 1 half. What's the answer? Ay, teka, wait. May problema ako pala. May problema ako dito. Teka. Square root, no? Of 2 over 2. Dapat pareho ang magiging sagot dito. Supposedly, no? Kasi, sige, gawin ko ang mathematical to. Dali lang. So we're actually deriving dA over dx, no? And we're equating it to 0. From here, that area Sandali lang. Okay, pasensya na Micaela, no? So, may mga interruption lang. Yeah, 600 lang, di-discount pa. Saan ka?
Sa labas.
Bakit?
Bakit kita nagsabi ng ito?
Oo nga.
Bakit po na lang ako sa pagkindi?
Ako na lang. O, sige. Okay, dali. Medyo preoccupied yung mga clients ko. So here,
Alam po.
so 1 minus, i-reiterate ko lang. So 1 minus x squared din to eh. So assuming 1 yung radius. So 1 minus, yung area kasi is composed, parang siyang 2x times 2y, no? So dapat pala may reflect natin dito, 2x times 2y. Yun yung totoong area niya. So derivative ng 2x. Oh, so magiging 4 na siya. Ayan. Ayan. So square root to. Mga pala, nakalimutan ko square root. Ayan. Sige nga, hopefully this would, so kung kukunin natin yung derivative niya, def of 4x times the square root of 1, sana naman 1 minus x squared. Yan. So, ang idadump natin, yung 1 square root of 1 minus x squared. No? So, ang matitira dyan, so upon differentiation, so 1 times 1 minus 2 x squared. Okay, which is equal to 0. So magdadump uli yung ano, no? Magdadump uli yung 4. So same thing, no? Tama, Micaela? Square root of 2 over 2 at x. Tama ba? Square root of 2 over 2. Same square root of 2 over 2, no? So x, teka. That's our answer. Now, if we will solve the y, who has a Pythagorean relation here, or as y square is square root of 1 minus x squared. Dali. No, what? Recash ka ba? API na lang. Okay. Ayan. Nag-goodbye kiss lang ako kay Mrs. Okay, substituting. Siguro okay na to, Micaela. We'll be resolving here that y now is equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared. May na-miss out lang siguro tayo kanina. Ayan. So, solving, square root of 2 over 2 pa rin. Tama? Kasi magiging 1 minus 1 half siya. Tama ba? Sige nga, 1 minus 1 half is 1 half. Square root of 1 half, still, square root of 2 over 2. Ito, I think na-miss out lang natin kanina yon. Okay, so my point is that your y is equal to x. Yan lang ibig kong sabihin dyan. Therefore, if y is equal to x, therefore, square is the largest rectangle that would fit a circle whose radius is equal to 1. The maximum value now would be square root of 2 over 2 for the value of x and y. Pero kung titingnan natin, kukumpute natin yung area, ito pa rin yun. It will be 2x times 2y pa rin to compute for the actual maximum area of that yan. So marami nag-chat sa atin. Okay, another example. Actually, teka, hindi ko sure kung nandyan na sa classroom, pero I will upload today yung mga sample. So sa halip, Micaela, sa halip na i-derive mo siya, kapag nakakita ka ng problem regarding this, a rectangle, inscribe a circle, find the maximum value, alam mo na agad that it is a square. And you could solve that using the Pythagorean relationship of the radius, x and y. And x and y are equal to one another because they are square. Okay? Make sense? So yan yung point ng maxima minima. For this case, maximum area. Maximum area. Okay? So let's look at sample problem here perhaps. Okay. Let's have a sample problem. Madali lang siguro. Ito. I think this you could recall on this. The sum of two positive numbers. Even algebra, there is an calculus application, Micaela. Ito yun. The sum of two positive numbers is 50. What are the numbers if their product is to be the largest? Okay, the first thing to do here is to identify what is the differentiable value. What is the differentiable value here, Micaela? Kanina, ang differentiable value is the area of the square. And we get its relation based on the circle, assuming r is equal to 1. But here, there's a problem. And what is the differentiable variable? Micaela. What's the differentiable variable for this problem? Kasi pag hindi mo makita yan, hindi mo masosolve yung problem. Katulad nito, ang differentiable variable natin area. Kasi yan ang minamaximize natin. Ang titingnan mo dyan, ano yung minamaximize na value? Dito, area. Dito naman, anong minamaximize natin?
Yung product.
Product. Okay. Tama. Product of what value? There are two values here, x and y. Alright? X and y. So, hindi natin alam. Pero may binigay na pauna dyan. So, there must be one differentiable variable. Tatandaan natin. Katulad nito, in-eliminate natin yung y, natira x. So, dito, may dalawa tayong number na kukunan yung product na dapat ma-eliminate. How could you do that? By getting the another condition here, which the sum of two positive numbers is equal to 50. xy is equal to 50. So, if you would like to eliminate y, you substitute y such that 50 is equal to, or y is equal to 50 minus x. Tama?
Yes.
Then we substitute to the original differentiable formula, which is you are actually maximizing the product. Therefore, that's your main equation, you will substitute and eliminate a variable using the conditions given. For this case, the sum of two numbers is 50. Therefore, one of the number is equal to 50 minus x. And we could substitute that such that this will become x times the quantity 50 minus x. Okay? And, of course, we could always have this simplified as 50x minus x squared. Then we get, after we have expressed the differentiable function that we need to maximize or minimize into a single variable, then that's the time we get the derivative. Okay? Michaela? Can you follow? Okay, so we now get the derivative with respect to x. And what's the derivative of 50x?
50, sir.
50 minus
50 minus 2x.
2x. And after we get the derivative, then we equate it to 0. Why? Because the slope of the maximum or minimum value is always equal to 0. That's why we are equating it to 0. Then from that, we could solve for the value of x. For this case, 50 is equal to 2x or x is equal to 25. Therefore, y is 25 as well. Tama ba? Pwede nating i-try yan to convince ourselves that this would have a maximum value. Oh, so kung 25 times 25, gamitin na, of course, ang sagot dyan ay 625. Tama? Paano kung ang pinili mong pares ay 30 times 20, which is also equal to 50, yung sum nila. So 600 lang. How about 35, say, times 15? The sum is 50, but we could get the sum, it's 525. So what could you notice here? 40 times 10, the sum is 50. What is the product? It's 400. So what can you notice here? What would be your conclusion? Michaela, yung maximum product may kita doon sa gitna. Yung kalahati nung sum, 50-50. Kung 50 yan, 25-25. Maximum sum yun. Maximum product. Naguha natin yan through calculus. We get the derivative. And equating the derivative function to 0, solving for x, and then solving for y. Okay? So that's for... Okay, let's have another problem.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, bakit po ulit siya in-equate sa 0 po?
Okay, babalik tayo doon. Kasi yung slope ng maximum value equal to 0. Recall that the slope is also your first derivative. Okay? Yun yung significance doon. Yung slope mo, yun mismo yung first derivative mo. Pag ang slope mo equal to 0, andun yung either maximum o yung minimum value. Based on the graph, So by maximum value ka, ang slope mo dito 0. Kung may minimum value ka sa kabila, ang slope mo 0. So equating the first derivative to 0 would allow you to look for its minimum or maximum value depending on the problem. Okay? Make sense? Because the first derivative is also your slope. This is equivalent to your slope, your dy over dx. No? Pareho lang yan, yung slope na yan. Kaya in-equate natin siya kay 0 para makuha mo yung maximum. Kasi pag hindi 0 ang slope, it could be other values. But that is not minimum or not maximum at all if the slope is not equal to 0. Okay? Make sense? So yan yung graphical explanation dyan. Okay, another. Ayan, napatunayan na natin dito, no? Okay. Okay, another problem. A farmer has enough money to build only 100 meters fence. What are the dimensions? The maximum area. Yeah, a farmer has enough money to build only 100 meters of fence. So meron kang fence. Meron kang fence, may bakod, 100 meters lang yung availability. Okay, what are the dimensions of the field that can enclose? What are the dimensions of the field he can enclose the maximum area? Okay, tanong, what is the differentiable variable? Kanina, differentiable variable ay product, no? Product or P. No? Dito, ano ang differentiable variable or value to be maximized or minimized? Micaela? What's that variable? Area. Area, yes. And of course, we could make use of the area times xy, no? So, area is equal to xy. But paano natin siya makukuha? Saan natin siya kukunin? So, meron kang 100, di ba? Well, babakuran mo, so it must be a rectangular fence. Rectangular fence, no? So, side by side, no? Four sides. So, that would be our assumption. So, therefore, there must be 2 values of x plus 2 values of y that will be equivalent to 100. That's the formula for your fence. In fact, that's the perimeter of rectangle. Okay, kasi given yung 100 meters of fence, no? Assuming na rectangular siya. Ngayon, we could solve for y. Parang ganun din, di ba? Ang atake natin, parang pareho-pareho lang, iba-iba lang ng problema. Yung isa naman product, yung isa area doon inscribed in a circle, kinuha pa natin yung relation yung sa bilog. Ito naman, kinuha natin yung area, yung variables ng area in relation to the perimeter naman, which is 100 meters. Okay? So at least I know you could have a pattern on this, no? So we could solve for y such that y is equal to 100 minus 2x all over 2. Yan. All over 2. Wag muna tayo mag-conclude na square yung fence dapat. Wag muna tayo mag-conclude. Though yan naabot tayo sa ganyang conclusion na magkakaroon tayo ng square fence. Okay? There will be a square fence that could have a maximum value. But based on calculus, we could do that. No? So therefore, eliminating x by y by substituting the value of x here, so area now would be equal to x times 100 minus 2x divided by 2. So we could make use of our octave here to solve. So dip of x times 100 minus 2x. So kailangan ng pwede naman kasi multiplication naman, walang problema kahit siya lang i-divide mo sa 2. So x times 100 minus 2x all over 2. Okay, I think okay na ba yun? So 50 minus 2x pa rin ang lumabas. 50 minus 2x. So getting now the derivative of a with respect to x. Saka Micaela, pag magdi-derivative ka, dapat isa lang ang variable. Hindi pwedeng x and y. Kaya kailangan nating i-substitute or i-eliminate yung isang variable by using the prevailing conditions. So from here, we could say based on this, so 50, ba? Mukhang hindi tayo, niloko tayo nito. Hindi naman siguro, no? So, may tiwala tayo ng octave. 50 minus 2x. Minus 2x. I-equate natin kay 0 to. Tama? Equate that to 0. Solve for x. Mikaela.
25
25 meters. So, therefore, ano rin yung y? Obviously, that's also 25 meters. So, square talaga siya. Whether by visualization or calculus, we could always arrive at a square. A square would have a maximum area. So parang yun yung katulad nung kanina, di ba? Yung sum is 50. Tama? Sum is 50. So 25, 25. So maximum product niya is 625. Ito naman, doon sa perimeter. Yung one side is 25. The other one is 25. So 625. That would produce the maximum area. Okay? So marami yan. So ibibigay ko lahat ng materials na to sa'yo, Mikaela. Then we will continue. And then alternatively, I could pwede natin konting discussion about integration. Either by next week or even during the review. No, pwede natin gawin yun. Meron pa tayong 2 weeks for that. Okay, ito pa yung mga sample problem. No? Ito naman sa economics. A cost, C. The quantity X of the product. Wherein there is an equation for that cost. Okay, so yan yung equation ng cost in terms of X na. X number of the product. Now, find the quantity. Find the quantity for which the cost is minimum. Okay? So from here, obviously, pwede na direct differentiable equation na to. Kasi cost na agad inequate. Cost in terms of the number of quantities, quantity X of the product. So the cost is varying in terms of the number of quantities. Now, the question is, what is, find the quantity for which the cost is minimum. Find the value of X for which the case is minimum. So the differentiable variable is C, or the cost. So from here, we could get the derivative of that. So for this case, X squared. Plus 50. Yan. So 2X plus 400. So, kasi wala ka na namang isa lang yung variable mo, no? So we could always solve for C prime of X, dahil yun yung first derivative, is equal to 2X plus 4,000. Plus 4,000. Then eventually we'll equate it to 0. Then you solve for X.
Negative 2,000.
Negative 2,000. No, kasi nga, nag-negative siya. No? Parang may mali ako dito. Okay. Dapat pala ito minus. Sorry. Mistake. So, minus. So, this will become a minus. So, tama. Magiging positive siya, no? 2,000.
Okay.
So, that would be the quantity of X where the cost will be minimum. Yun na yun, automatic na yun. So far, yun lang naman yung ano eh. Yun yung minamaxima, minima. Area, perimeter, cost, product, no? Okay. So let me siguro, yung time rates pwede kong i-discuss by next week na lang. Time rates siya. Pero ipapadala ko na to Micaela, itong mga problems na to para may familiarity ka. You're not required to answer this, but a sort of reviewer na rin for maxima minima. Hindi ko nga sure kung na-upload ko na siya eh. Minsan nakakalimot din ako eh. Dahil check ko sa aking i-check ko sa classroom natin. Kung na-upload ko na siya. So para next week, pwede pa naman time rates. Tapos very very brief lang tayo sa integration. Very brief lang. At least may connection na yung nakalipas mong pag-aaral. Yung missing link natin. Okay, sandali. I'll just abaga lang kasi internet ko. Buti nga ngayon walang lagging sa ano, no? Okay, salamat sa ating viewers, no? Kanina maraming viewers, ngayon nawala na kasi nawala na sila ng interest sa calculus. Nandito na pala sa week 7, Micaela. Micaela, week 7. Week 7, just click that lecture notes. Day 14 yon, maxima minima. Nandiyan na yung material natin. So, okay na siya. Download mo na lang. But I'm not requiring it to solve it anymore. It's just part of your reviewer. Acknowledging RC Pinoy. Salamat, Sir RC. Okay na pala to. So, ayan, nandiyan na lahat yung nandiyan na yung PDF file. Kala ko hindi ko pa na-upload. So, pwede mo na siyang pag-practicean. Yan. So, pwede mo siyang practice ka na. Okay, siguro okay lang ba? One more problem, Miguela? Isang problem na lang para medyo tayo. Nakakagutom na lunch to. Acknowledging Sir RC, salamat Sir RC for dropping by. Oh, Doc Jaime Caro. Salamat po, Doc. Nahiya tuloy ako. Pinapanood ako ni Doc Caro. Doc, welcome to my Calculus 1 class. Ayan po, si Dr. Jaime Caro ay professor from the University of the Philippines. Also one of my mentor when I was still at Roosevelt College in Cainta. He was my dean. Actually, si Doc Caro ay dean ko sa Roosevelt. Welcome, Doc Caro. Welcome po. Bigla tuloy ako nahiya. Kasi Doc Caro is one of my dean ko po siya nung time na nagtuturo ako sa Roosevelt College Cainta. Ayan po. Welcome Doc Caro. Thank you for dropping by. Okay, so here's the last problem that we have, no? So medyo maikli lang. Ito. So this is regarding time rates naman. Time rates na. A man walks across a bridge at a rate of 5 foot per second as a boat passes directly beneath him at 10 feet per second. If the bridge is 100 feet above the boat, how fast are the man and the boat separating 1 second later? Anyway, it's part of the reviewer, no? So, pwede mo siyang i-review. Yan. Yan yung... so, I need to draw this. Nako, nawala na naman yung ating octave natin. Attempting to reconnect. Na-imagine mo to, simultaneous siya, Micaela, habang naglalakad sa bridge yung tao at a speed of 5 feet per second. Yun namang boat na nasa ilalim niya, no, ay nag-pass by. So, technically, this is perpendicular, tama? Kasi as you cross the bridge, and then yung boat naman ay magpa-pass by doon sa ilog. So, perpendicular siya. Na-imagine mo, Micaela, perpendicular yung kanyang yung direction. Yun lang, they are separated by 10, the bridge is 10 feet above the boat, no, or the river, perhaps. River yan, ilog, no? So yun yung makita natin dyan, no? How fast the man and the boat separating 1 second later. So, dapat makita natin yung distansya niya, after 1 second. Yung position after 1 second. So, yun yung... Nagets mo na, Micaela? I need to scroll up. So, lalaki na naglalakad ng 5 feet per second at yung boat na nag-pass by beneath him, that is 100 or 10 feet below or above yung tao sa bridge, ay nag-pass by naman ng 10 feet per second. No? So, gaano kabilis yung how fast the man and the boat separating, yung kanilang separation. No, parang perpendicular siya, no? So, habang naglalakad yung tao, no, lalakad naman yung boat naman magpa-pass by ng ganon. On a perpendicular direction. However, they are separated by 10 feet distance. Okay, make sense, Micaela? So, sige. So, yan yung, I will be looking into the illustration here. Illustration para masaya tayo. Halimbawa, ang taong nasa bridge, maglalakad siya ng 5 feet per second. Kaya lang, nasa ilalim niya yung boat, no, which is actually 10 feet. Na yun naman, no, kung titingnan natin in a cubical sense to, if I will draw this in a cubical sense, para ma-illustrate mo yung 3D aspect niya. So, ganyan yung mangyayari dyan. Alright? So, at this particular point, paglalakad siya ng 5, no, with that distance of 10 feet below, the bridge is 10 feet above. Ito naman yung pag this is 10. Okay? 10t. Pwede natin ilagay as 10t and then ito 5t. Kasi may time factor, no? Ngayon, as they approach this 1 second mark, perhaps on this portion, ito yung magiging distance niya. Perhaps, sige, extend ko pa, no? As they approach that point, no, yan yung point na yan, nakarating siya after 1 second, nakapaglakad siya ng 1 second. No, ito ganun din. No? So, yung distansya nilang dalawa. That's your letter S. Yan, medyo review tayo ng geometry nito. Okay? So ano diyan, what would define that diagonal, Micaela? Na-imagine mo naman, no, cubic siya, no? Cubic siya. Palitan ko lang to. Ito kasi non-essential to. So, ito mga non-essential component na to. So, cubic siya eh. Okay? So, it's a cubical. Kaya lang, it's a diagonal of a cube, not a diagonal of a square. It's a diagonal of a cube. Therefore, what are the components of solving that diagonal, Micaela? So, obviously, may tatlong nakikita tayo dyan na component niyan. Ano yung tatlong component, Micaela? Yung diagonal squared mo, tatlong component yung makikita natin dyan. Una, yung 5t. Alright, 5t. This is 5, o yung 10t na, sige, yung sabot, 10t. This will be squared. Para siyang Pythagorean theorem in 3-dimensional, Micaela. No? If you will, 5t squared plus 100 squared. Okay, substituting, can you furtherly solve? S squared. So 10 squared is 100. And then 5 squared is 25. So 125p squared. Plus 100 squared is, 10 squared is 100. So therefore, getting the derivative, what would be the derivative now of your ds with respect to t? Ayan, so we could make use of this. No? Sama, gumagana pa itong ating XYZ. Seems. And then diff of 125 times t raised to 2 plus 100. Obviously, this is, o nga pala, hindi t, sorry, x. X ang gamitin natin. Hindi natin dinefine yung, talagang malupit siya, 125. 250x. Tama? Tama ba, Micaela? 250t.
Yes po.
Okay, 250t. Wait, a minute. May problema ako dito pala. Nung dinerivative ko, hindi ko sinamin left side of the equation eh. Derivative of s squared, Micaela. Sorry my mistake. Derivative of s squared.
2s po.
2s. Nakalimutan natin yung 2s doon. 2s, ds over dt. Kasi hindi naman siya s lang eh. Tama? S squared siya. So yun ang nakalimutan natin. Okay, solvein pa natin yan. So, ayan, so that would be now the situation. So if that would be the case, so your ds over dt would be equal to 250t over 2s. So that would be the case. Okay, let's have a trial here when t is equal to, okay, so iwalay lang natin to, no? Iwalay natin siya. This time, saka natin substitute yung time frame after we get the derivative, Micaela. Kasi time to eh. Time frame. At t is equal to 1, at t is equal to 1 second, we substitute it to the original expression here. S squared is equal to 125 t squared plus 1, plus 100. Substitute here. So what you're gonna have is S squared plus 125, 1 squared, plus 100, which is equal to 225. And square root of S would be equal to, S is equal to 15 feet. So that is the how long after 1 second. Pero ang tanong dyan, how fast? Hindi lang how long, Micaela. So there must be a differentiation there. No? How fast is the man and the boat separating 1 second later? Kasi kung ang itanong lang how long, okay na. Hindi mo na kailangang i-derivative yan. No? Substitute mo lang yung time. That's already 15 feet apart after 1 second. Kaya lang ang tanong, how fast and are the man and boat separating? So that's another case. So kaya isa-substitute natin doon sa ating na-derive, which is here, yung ds over dt is 120t over 2s. Over 2s. So substituting ds over dt at after 1 second, 250 times 1 all over 2 multiplied by 15 feet. So that would be equal to, can you solve? 250 over 30. What's 250 over 30, Michaela? We could solve it here. 230, 30. So you have 8.33. And what is the unit of this? What's the unit? Michaela, what's the unit? 8.33 feet per second. Kasi what is asked there is how fast. How fast is the man in boat separating a second later? We compute for how long, that is 15 feet. But how fast, you substitute it with the derivative. Formula, this one. 250 over ts. Saka mo lang isa-substitute. Okay? So anyway, you could download that, Micaela, on week 7. You could read about it and ayun, solve, gawin mong practice din yung time rate. So this is regarding time rates. So ang kaibahan lang sa time rates, hindi mo ini-equate sa zero. Ang maxima minima, ini-equate mo sa zero. Yun yung isa sa kaibahan niya. Okay? So dito, pag nakuha mo yung derivative, saka mo isa-substitute yung time frame at magkakaroon ka ngayon ng substitution after you get the derivative. But for the maximum minima, you need to eliminate one variable first and get the derivative, then equate it to zero, then you solve for the values after equating it to zero. So yun yung pagkakaiba nilang dalawa. No, samantalang ito, wala kang equate kay zero. You don't equate it to zero because there's no slope issue here. What the issue here is the motion of two moving objects. For this case, it's the man walking and the boat that is below, no, below the bridge that is passing by the bridge. Okay. So other question with the procedure. Anyway, it's on your classroom. You could always download that, Micaela. Then we will focus more on this by next week. We still have week 16 and then week 17 is puro review lang tayo. And of course, integration will be introduced also next week.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay, sige. So, thank you. Alright, so anyway, all of these are part of your, nandun sa PDF file, no? Pwede mong reviewin yun. So, doon ko lang kinuha yung mga, eto naman, part pa to ng week 13, na I think nasa week 6 siya, na nakalagay na PDF. Ito, yung kanina, yung maximum minima sa time rates, week 7 ng iyong classroom. Okay? Sige. So, we thank the Lord for this. Thank you, Micaela, for staying. I know this had been a long day for you. And also for our viewers, both for YouTube and Facebook. Okay, let's close in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. Thank you for this opportunity. Continually guide us, applying these mathematical principles as we appreciate its application, particularly the maximum minimum problem and the time rates. Indeed, this Lord has practical impact on us as math majors and teachers, that we may utilize this for our benefit, and that we may appreciate this, Lord, as your creation. And we thank you because you put this in order in terms of mathematical concepts that we could understand and appreciate its practical use. We thank you, Lord, and bless even as we partake our lunch today in our respective homes. I pray for your mercy and grace and guidance. This is our prayer in Christ's name. Amen. Okay, thank you, Micaela. God bless you. See you next week.
Thank you po.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye po.